We now have better insight into why the White House, through an executive order followed up from the bipartisan Safer Community Act, ordered the Department of Defense to use the acquisition of firearms to further the safety of America. Now, there's a lot of question marks that revolve around that, and we did a video when that executive order first came out, because the acquisition of firearms means a few things. Now, thanks to the Government Accountability Office, we have a little bit better insight into what the possibility of the acquisition of firearms through the Department of Defense really means when it comes to making America safe. Well, there's two things that they're doing this for. One, if they acquire the contracts of certain gun manufacturers that make certain guns that the military could use, well, then they're acquiring all those guns. So then those gun companies then stop making them for civilians. We saw Colt do that recently. Well, a few years back now, they've started making those guns again, but for a long time they weren't making them for civilians. They were only making them for the military. So there's that aspect. When you get all those gun manufacturers who were just watering at the mouth for a big old government contract, that's the acquisition of firearms. Then the additional piece is, and this is the one that's more recently discovered, is that through these government contracts, they force civilian gun manufacturers into making their weapons a certain way with things like micro-stamping, in addition to smart technologies that leaders have been trying for the last decade to get into guns. So ultimately what this does is it takes way more guns out of the civilian market and then forces those manufacturers to use technologies that then they could then implement into society and not have to necessarily pass any laws. They're just kind of forcing their hand onto really the civilian market by buying up more than everybody else is going to buy up, that's for sure. So, you know, I will add that I am doing a follow-up video to this that is in regards to how this is potentially illegal because it's not mission focused. The Department of Defense definitely needs to define the mission and purpose of the weapons they're buying. So we'll do a follow-up video on that as well, but right now what we're looking at is the Department of Defense is ordered to acquire as many guns as possible out of the civilian market and then force their influence, their financial influence on the technologies that they like to see. Any thoughts or insight? Definitely put that below. I'm going to put the link to some of these reports below as well. Any thoughts or insight? Again, put it below. If you like this video, click like and subscribe. Feel called to support this channel through Patreon. That link is also below. But the most important part of this channel, we take prayer requests, and never hesitate to send that in. Thank you for watching this episode of God, Family, and Guns. And as always, love God, love your family, and love guns.